This Rudshaw receipt I didn't request, the night his driver rated us both. At none, 11 p.m., my email thanked me for a trip I did not take. Thanks for riding with us, the subject line chirped, cheerful as a Mutra D who knows your alias. In the body, a tiny map, a straight blue line connecting Rue dus Trois Frères to Hut ul Cuspapa, 3 stars for the driver, conversation, and a tip I apparently left with a thumb I wasn't using. Underneath, as if punctuation had learned shame, a gray italic. Shared profile, payment by Gabriel. Gabriel is mine, or as much as you can claim anyone in a city that keeps teaching you about borrowed nouns. He'd left at 8 in the jacket that flatters him even when mirrors get evangelical, kissed me with that efficient tenderness people reserve for public stairwells and private oaths, and said, "Rap toast." Then notes with "tha." Don't wait. "Tha" does sound. He carries microphones like small animals with delicate tempers and listens the way air does when it's tired of pretending to be nothing. In the oven, a cinnamon thing tried to make honesty smell like dessert. Our apartment light climbed the wall in obedient squares and refused to narrate me. I tapped the receipt open and watched the fare breakdown learn my name. The app has our profiles linked because convenience and trust share fonts. Tonight, the font practiced infidelity. I put on the jacket that knows how to mind its own business and took the stairs because elevators show you a version of your face that negotiates badly. The air outside had chosen a temperature and stuck with it. On the corner, a driver idled with the patience of someone who knows love is late more often than traffic. I walked past him and let my mind be the only passenger. The Hutul Cuspapa wears discretion like a borrowed fur. The lobby smells like lemon with tenure. A woman at the desk looked up with the good manners of a person who has practiced centuries of privacy in a very short time. I gave her nothing to work with. She gave me the lobby anyway. At the bar, a glass spiral of bottles watched their reflections with modest vanity. The piano at the end had nobody to save. On the low table near the window, a spot for secrets that prefer to look like accidents, sat a napkin with a dark ring and 2 toothpicks arranged in a careless cross, the small geometry of decision. I didn't see him. I saw his jacket first, the color of apology draped over the back of a chair in the mezzanine. Tha stood near the window, hands in his pockets the way men do when they're trying to keep from agreeing out loud. Gabriel turned at the exact pace of a person who knows surprise is a paragraph, and he had already read the first line. "Max," he said, my name with the softness of a receipt. "Your driver thinks I had a lovely chat," I said, because humor is the leash I use to keep panic from bolting. I held up the phone. The tiny blue line ran across the city as if it had permission. Tha didn't apologize. He did the better thing. He stepped away from the window and cleared the distance between us like a man trained in exits. "I can give you to the lobby," he said, voice neat, no theater, the courtesy of a person who has learned where his silhouette belongs. He took the stairs down without touching the rail. "Not here," Gabriel said, eyes lifting toward the camera pearl in the cornice, a moon that had learned about HR. He tipped his head toward the winter garden glass and breath, ferns that practice oxygen, a door that believes in hinges. "There's air." The winter garden wore the night like a shirt borrowed from someone steadier. Outside the glass, Paris made a case for lights. Inside, water hummed somewhere polite. We stood at the edge of a rectangle meant for ceremonies and chose not to use it. "I lied when I left," he said. He doesn't waste adjectives when he intends to be correct. Rap happened. People tried their best grammar on goodbye. I told myself I wanted 30 minutes where being interesting didn't have to pass inspection. "Tha," I said, Because names are handles and I like my hands full when the floor tilts. He nodded. The fern beside him kept doing the simple work of not dying. Are you sleeping with him? The question is a cliff. There isn't a scenic route. You count to one and make your mouth earn its keep. Not yet, he said, clean, immediate. Then lower, the honesty that knows exactly which muscle wants to bruise. I brought my mouth. The glass made a weak version of us and handed it back. I stepped closer because distance has a half-life after 9, and I don't like radioactivity. I lifted 2 fingers to the soft inside of his wrist where men keep their apologies and felt his pulse write my name there without permission. His eyes closed like doors that expect hands. Under my palm at the small of his back, where his body keeps its best arguments, heat had already bought a ticket. My hand remembered the route. You like wanting that proves something kindness can't, I said. I didn't make it cruel. Cruelty is lazy precision. You treat intimacy like a sport and honesty like off-season training. You like to coach, he said, a corner of his mouth trying on a better future. Which is unfair and also how we still have furniture. What do you want? I asked. Right now, not the apology you drafted for daylight. He stepped into the inch that becomes a lie if you respect it too long. Heat moved through cotton like a fact I didn't need to argue. He spoke close enough that punctuation found my lower lip. I want to go home, he said. I want you to want me where our towels remember us and desire doesn't need a driver. We didn't kiss under the camera, Pearl. We're messy, not stupid. I let my thumb rest at the hinge of his jaw where honesty hides and turned us toward the door like we'd learned a choreography we didn't intend to monetize. On the sidewalk, the city did not narrate us. We let it be wise. The driver outside had a new fare and none of our names. We walked the long way home because sometimes the shortest route is a decision you regret. Our apartment had kept the cinnamon honest beyond the call of sugar. The square of light on the wall climbed like an idea that finally put on shoes. We ate with our fingers because forks would have lied. He leaned into the drawer that sticks, the posture that means he is willing to be moved and wants me to be precise about how. I slid my palm under his shirt and found heat like an address that still prints both our names on the mail. He tipped into me, gratitude making him heavy and exact. We were careful in bed, not the kind of careful that kills heat, the kind that knows where to fold it so the room won't have to testify. He knows where to place his hand on my ribs so the rest of me turns without issuing a press release. I know where his shoulder hides when it runs out of brave, and how to coax it into telling the truth with weight and breath, and a mouth that has stopped trying to rescue him and still wants him. I won't draw you the choreography. I will tell you the room remembered to breathe, and morning forgave us because it had other work. We slept like people who are not finished. Light took our blinds with the confidence of a suggestion. He made coffee the way he does when he wants me to listen. The receipt sat between us on the table like a witness that didn't understand jurisdiction. Under the map, a soft line, split paid by Max. Betrayal with my credit card is still betrayal. He started with small truths because small truths keep larger ones upright. I like that listens as if quiet could be a verb, he said. I liked a room that didn't remember me. He folded the receipt once and set it under his mug like paper could practice weight training. I kissed him once. He told me I was saying the sentence in the wrong room. Do you want to be here? I asked, making sure the verb belonged to the present. Yes, he said. To be wanted where the towels remember us and the plant forgives our travel. To be boring with you on purpose, not after the fire. We'll practice, I said, and chose a voice that didn't ask for applause. We made boring plans because boring is how lives stay expensive for the right reasons. We unlinked the Russia profiles, turned off default split with partner, and set our building as a location that demands two-factor honesty. We decided that if one of us wants 30 minutes of attention that isn't from the other, we call it a craving, not a crisis, and we walk it at the bakery where uklas bully your mouth into thinking about sugar. It isn't romantic. It's maintenance. It's oil on the hinge that keeps the door from learning to shout. 2 afternoons later, I saw Tha outside a studio that smells like ambition and lemon, the city's favorite lie. He gave me the nod men use when they've chosen to be furniture on purpose. He didn't apologize and I didn't deputize. We stood under a poster promising to rescue strangers in 98 minutes. "I'm not fishing for gratitude," he said, truth the size of his voice. He kissed me once. I told him he was saying it in the wrong room. I like my sleep and his mornings. "You could have said nothing," I said. "You could have believed worse," he answered. "This makes both our lives cheaper." He glanced at the street as if sound were a visible substance. "You don't need my testimony, but if it steadies you, nothing worth deleting happened." "It steadies," I said, and discovered it did. Not absolution, but a floor. We didn't become friends. We became men with a shared interest in someone else's better choice. There are worse coalitions. A week later at Nun, 11 again, as if the hour had decided to audition for a superstition, another receipt pinged. "You left something in your driver's car." The item listed was a scarf I don't own. The blue line drew from a cinema we like to a bar we avoid. Across the room, Gabriel was already holding up a scarf I recognized as the bar's staff uniform, left with him as a joke, returned by him as a correction. He smiled the small, real smile that moves furniture. "I told them it wasn't ours," he said. "The app thinks we're still an anecdote." He tossed the scarf onto the chair like proof that fabric can't narrate. Then he crossed to where I stood, set his palm where my back keeps its heat, and held it there like punctuation that knows its job. We've learned how to spend evenings without theaters. We learn it again every week. On certain nights when the city forgets to be clever, his mouth finds mine with the urgency thunderstorms claim and the patience laundry requires. We stay just on the lawful side of the line because good heat doesn't need choreography to be true. When it's done with us, when we are done with it, he rests his hand at the small of my back like a bookmark that has always known the right page. Sometimes the app still sends me smug summaries. "You saved €4 by avoiding surge." I don't trust it. I trust the square of light at 4 when it climbs our wall like a disciplined idea. I trust the bowl that catches our phones like obedient coins. I trust the coffee he makes when he wants me to listen, and the way his hand remembers my ribs without asking the room for permission. I trust that if a driver ever rates us both again for a conversation neither of us had, we'll do what we did the night the receipt wrote our names. Find air, choose kissing over theater, walk home with my palm resting on the part of him that knows the address, and keep teaching this door, gentle, stubborn, local, to open from the inside. 2 small footnotes, because lives adore encores. First, I changed his contact from Gabriel to Gabriel, home. Hyphens don't do miracles. They perform administrative grace. When my hand forgets itself at thra, Soventon, it reads the dash and puts the phone away. Second, I kept the original receipt, the one that drew a blue line from a street I know to a hotel I didn't, and imagined me leaving a tip for a conversation I never heard. Not to punish us, to mark the hinge where the night swung. A tidy rectangle proving that maps don't know the difference between travel and truth, and that sometimes two men can choose to walk the long way home until both mean the same thing.